now learn that over 160 Republicans were secretly investigated by Biden's FBI in an operation codenamed Arctic Frost.
And I will break some news here. I was on 2 of those subpoena lists. I don't think that Joe Biden, the man himself, was necessarily even compos mentis enough. And if he wasn't there oversight on this every single day, then, you know, maybe it's because they put a corpse in the White House.
Now, in what was once dismissed as partisan paranoia is looking like a terrifying political reality. We now learn that over 160 Republicans were secretly investigated by Biden's FBI in an operation codenamed Arctic Frost. And whole media companies, journalists, campaign groups, family members have been dragged into the snooping. Lawmakers like Chuck Grassley and Jim Jordan say it's proof the administration have been running a political hit list for a decade. Still with me is Raheem Kassam from the National Pulse. 197 subpoenas have been revealed by the House Oversight Committee now, targeting 34 individuals, including the president, his family, his aides, his lawyers, his kids, 163 businesses, including some of the biggest media companies in America, Fox News, Newsmax, dragged into this ginormous fishing exercise. I know we looked at this briefly last night, but the more I've been reading today, Raheem Kassam, about this development, started with 6 senators, and now it's basically anyone who's who in the Republican movement. This was way out of control, right?
Oh, it's way worse than way out of control. I mean, you will probably remember when President Trump made the allegation that Obama's government was spying on his campaign, and they laughed at him. They called it fake news. They said he was spreading disinformation and misinformation about the role of the DOJ and the FBI. Then they turned out and sort of admitted that actually, yes,
They had a little phone tapping here. And,
we did do that.
Gate,
Trump Tower, all of that. We looked at the Alpha Bank links, all of that. Then the allegation was made again during the last campaign that the Biden regime, I never say government, I never say administration, because it's been run like a regime, it's been run like a junta. They have been targeting political opponents with kind of general subpoenas, general warrants, things that the founders of this country explicitly decried when they were setting up this country, to not have a situation like we had in the United Kingdom, where the state could just bear down on you with all of its power if it's suspected that you were ready to take political power away from them.
Even in the United Kingdom, they're explicit. I mean, they're conventions, because everything in the English Constitution is done by convention and precedent. But there is direct convention that MI5, MI6, the security services do not spy on elected lawmakers.
That's now. I mean, when they were founding this country...
No, exactly, but any protection in the United States seems to have been thrown out the window.
So a lot of people are comparing this to Watergate.
Yeah.
I think it makes Watergate look like a drop in the ocean. This is actively... And I will break some news here. I was on 2 of those subpoena lists.
Were you? Well, there we go.
And luckily, they never came after me. For whatever reason, they dropped the interest in me along those lines. But why did this happen? This happened because there was the idea in 2020 of floating an alternative slate of electors after the election, to say, we don't believe in the results of this election, we're going to ask the Senate to look at an alternative slate of election and therefore an alternative result in 2020. Now, there are all sorts of things that we still don't know about the way that worked, and it'll all shake out, right? I hope it shakes out faster than it's currently looking at, and we'll get to that in a moment. But that's happened twice in American history before. And at neither time has it been used as a predicate to start a criminal investigation. It happened under Kennedy, and it happened in the 1800s. And at neither point was anybody criminally charged. So Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, and Jack Smith.
Yeah, it was the FBI, the head FBI investigator.
Well, let's talk about who Jack Smith really is. Jack Smith is somebody who prosecuted war crimes in The Hague after the Kosovo War. He is used to going after the nastiest people in the world, and he is used to using the nastiest tactics to get them. That's how you have to do. You have to fight fire with fire. Jack Smith applied that same mantra here, and he went after Republican lawmakers, campaign groups like Turning Point USA, Heritage Foundation types. Catherine Herridge has got great reporting out there about it, former CBS News reporter who's really at the cusp of all of this. And they went in with this general accusation that simply alleging that there could be an alternate slate of electors is proof of a crime. Jack Smith should be in prison for
Jack Smith says anytime, any place, through his lawyers, I will come and testify to the House Oversight Committee. I'll tell you ever what I want. I was tasked with investigating the possible insurrection post-January 6th, post the Capitol being stormed, post everything we saw in the run-up to President Biden being inaugurated and shortly after. He stands by it, the fact that he was tasked with it and he went along it perfectly legally. If that's the case,
I was just following orders.
If that is the case, then why not make him testify? Because at the moment, the House Oversight Committee don't seem to be doing that.
Make him testify, but look, Chris Wray testified, Jim Comey testified.
Jim Comey's for being indicted since then.
Right, and there are lots of people that will testify in front of Congress and you won't get anything really particularly interesting out of them. This goes to the heart of way more than that, because there are still people currently working at the DOJ and the FBI who are part of Operation Arctic Frost and who need to be fired and held to account for themselves. You may not, simply put, it's not a question, there's no argument about this, roll up especially elected members of the Senate and the House in a general idea of a conspiracy. You don't have a predicate for a crime. So how can you be issuing these subpoenas? How can you go to AT&T and Verizon and say, we want these...
Ted Cruz's landline exchange
and one of his
details.
staff members' cell phones was rolled up in this as well. How could you possibly think that in the United States of America that is acceptable?
It fell to a mobile phone company to turn around to remind the FBI that the existence
AT&T's lawyers said no.
Of the first...
and they backed off. Which tells you everything you need to know.
Tell you everything you need to know is that. And I called it Arctic Fox earlier because I always do that. Arctic Frost. Did you know it's a type of tree that flourishes, an orange tree?
I did not know.
That flourishes in warmer climates but can survive in New York. And so obviously you think all these operations that, these code names are plucked randomly out of a computer. But I don't think that is. Going after, an operation named explicitly after an orange Florida tree and trying to take it down. I think, that kind of shows you that this wasn't, what I don't work out is do they actually believe it? You read that report that was published by the Oversight Committee today. In there are like these emails that are basically accusing kind of think tank types and campaign organisers, elderly campaigners for the Republican Party who've done 50 years service training Senate staff how to be, how process works and things. Training campaign organisers on how to run elections and how to tally votes. These are volunteers in political parties. You get them all around the world and suggesting they are somehow part of a sinister insurrection plot that stretches from Donald Trump down to the boots on the ground of the people delivering leaflets in America. Did you think they really believed this? Why at no point did someone just go, this is nuts?
I'll tell you exactly why. Because what they wanted to do, and what they have done, what they did do, was a mass phishing exercise. Okay? What they were trying to do is not necessarily roll up these people and arrest them and charge them with criminal conspiracy to overthrow the US government. What they were trying to do is use this as a predicate to go through people's phones, to go through their campaign finances, to go through their personal finances, and to find individual crimes.
Which is, we have constitutional protections across the civilized world to stop doing that, because we know what? We aren't Stasi Germany. Right. We aren't a banana republic. But if they can do this to Ted Cruz, if they can do this to Donald Trump, if they can do this to Raheem Kassam, what chance does the normal man and woman in the street have of any protection against tyranny?
None. This is what it all comes down to. When President Trump stood on the campaign stage over and over again and said, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, I'm just standing in the way. This goes to the heart of that. And now all of these Republican lawmakers will be able to stand on stages in their respective districts, in their respective congressional seats, and across the country and say the same thing. They have now stood in the breach against this tyranny. And by the way, I don't think that Joe Biden, the man himself, was necessarily even compos mentis enough. In fact, it may have been...
Talks about the auto pen plenty this week.
But it may have been a result of him not being able to actually provide leadership. But, in this regard, when you have a DOJ, when you have an FBI that is being weaponized against your political opponents, the only person that can really stop that is the Commander-in-Chief, the Chief Magistrate of the United States government. And if he wasn't there oversight on this every single day, then maybe it's because they put a corpse in the White House that this happened.
Or were they just so self-satisfied and smug and genuinely have convinced themselves that Donald Trump was this sort of, tyrannical monster? If you scream Hitler and if you scream, Nazi at someone for long enough, it starts to stick. It starts to stick, right? And they genuinely think they were freedom. They were on God's side of ridding the world of him.
They certainly didn't think he would win again.
Well, they tried every trick in the book to stop it.
Well, they tried to put him in jail.
Yeah.
They charged him with elevating the price of Mar-a-Lago. That was something. I mean, looking back on it now, isn't it just absolutely risible that you saw the former president and soon-to-be future president of the United States having to do mugshots in Atlanta police stations because of weaponized cases against him.
A mugshot that stands in the lobby outside the Oval Office as a reminder of quite how ridiculous that was.
And it will stand in the minds of Americans for all of history as something that happens when bad people take office. But here's what they also didn't reckon with. They didn't reckon with people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino being in at the FBI now, because those are two Rottweilers, and they will unpick all of this. If it takes them every single minute till the end of this administration, they will do it.
There have been multiple reports, often loudly denied by Bongino and Patel himself on social media, that they're wrong. But it doesn't sound like you call them Rottweilers. At the very top of the organisation, yes, they want to pursue this, but presumably there are thousands of officials and officers and lawyers who are up to this in their neck, and so they're going to go do everything they possibly can to hope that the Republicans lose the midterms in 2 years and are unable to stop subpoenaing them all.
Well, and that's what I get frustrated by the lack of expediency about a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Right. I want to see Jack Smith being perp walked yesterday, but the reason it can't happen, the reason it isn't happening, is because of exactly what you said. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people implicated across government levels, implicated at the DOJ, implicated at the FBI, implicated in field offices around the country. Which and they will try and stop this.
Goes back to my original point, wouldn't it be a better use of time of the Tucker Carlsons and Nick Fuentes and all of these people with these great platforms and all of these politicians? It feels to me like the story's being downplayed. Would it not be better for them to focus on this than ripping each other apart on Israel and everything else?
Yes.
Then why aren't they doing it?
It goes back to the point about the third rail. This story, Arctic Frost, is now being covered across the gamut.
It's breaking through. I mean, when we started it out, 3 weeks ago, when it was 6 senators, it was sort of it was lowballed, right?
People like Candace have nothing to add to this investigation and this conversation. They don't know enough about it. They don't have enough expertise. They're used to just inventing stuff, and you can't at this point because it's so granular. Grassley's office is putting out so much detail on this stuff, and honestly, I'm afraid to say, she is just not a detail-oriented person.
It strikes to me that there is plenty more of this to come, right?
Yeah, and she can focus on Brigitte Macron.
Well, we are live on radio in the UK, so let's not repeat what she said about Brigitte Macron. Thank you, Raheem. I don't know if we've got time to play this clip, but I want to, just before you go, because I know you're leaving us after the next break, but one of my favourite people in America, America's toxic boyfriend, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, obviously running for president. He was being finally challenged on what everyone's saying, that he's a bit of a psycho.
What do you make of all the Patrick Bateman talk?
I don't know, but
I mean, people say that you are like American Psycho. Yeah.
Jesus, yeah. Like I said, new scum. I mean, look.
But even your friends say this.
Oh, do they?
I mean, yeah.
I'm going to reevaluate my guest list.
There was a comedian that said a literal comic book villain from Central Casting, Patrick Bateman vibes. He definitely had someone killed or may have killed someone himself. I think he meant that in a.
I'm glad I still have some humor left. I mean, this is a rough business.
Yeah, it is.
This is a rough, particularly if you're willing to fight.
Gavin Newsom there, confronted with the fact that everyone thinks he's a bit of a weirdo. Raheem, while you're here, it strikes me, and we've discussed this across the few weeks we've been going on this show, that the Dems seem to be still pretty punch drunk. They're going to be bogged down in quite a lot of this stuff, I think, for the foreseeable. The fallout over Biden's sort of forced withdrawal from the White House. Kamala Harris charging around saying everything was fine and I might run again. AOC pivoting off the left. You've got Mandami about to seize control in New York. And the one guy who looks like he could run for president is being accused of being a serial killer live on ABC News. I mean, obviously it was a joke, but, I mean, they're not in a great place, are they?
It's a joke, but honestly, it's an insult to Patrick Bateman. That's a very fine Chardonnay you're not drinking there. Look, I think Gavin Newsom actually has a way more difficult time of making the case for himself than a lot of people think. I think the left is moving towards being a more populist left movement than anything else, and people like Newsom just represent this old, scummy politics, sleazy politics, and has frankly been one of California's worst governors ever.
Wouldn't we want to be running on that record?
His record is absolutely abysmal, and I think that's the reason they feel comfortable needling him like that.
But he does kind of look like the president out of central casting. You can shut your eyes and imagine him on the podium.
Yeah, that's what people thought about Jeb Bush once upon a time too.
Yeah, but for the good of America, you kind of don't want America. We don't want the Democrats going down the crazy hard left line. But it looks to me that if someone like Gavin Newsom doesn't get a grip on things quickly, cement his position as frontrunner quickly, the Bernies and the AOCs and the Mandamis are going to take control of the madhouse. Right?
That's exactly what's happening, and that is inevitably going to happen. I don't think there's any way around it, and I don't think you can get a grip on something when your hands are so sticky from Brill cream.
Very good. Rahm Emanuel is a name that's emerged today, big profile in the Atlantic. He was the ambassador to Japan. He was the mayor of Chicago. He was Barack Obama's chief of staff. He's a combative, sweary figure. Could you see someone like that from the sort of literally the democratic deep state of the sort of democratic institutions getting their man in, or are they going to have to go through the sort of self-flagellation the GOP have gone through in sort of trying to fight their equivalent of MAGA, which would be a shift to the left, I suppose, before realising actually the horse has already bolted?
This coming election, or the next presidential election for the left, will be their 2016. You'll have 17 candidates on the stage, all claiming that, the Democrats should stick to what they know and do the Jeb Bush thing and all of that. And actually the populist left, I think, will run away with it. I think we are fooling ourselves if we think that's not going to happen. I think the right really needs to get its head around that now.
But does it help? Is it helpful or a hindrance to have a populist, hard left Democrats that most normal functioning Americans will think, who the hell are these guys?
Yeah, I think we're too early to take a view on how it actually plays out. It depends on how the rest of this administration goes, quite frankly, as well. I think if the economy still continues to stagnate well into the next couple of years, then people are going to start looking for populist left solutions. I'm not recommending it, but I think that's the way that the cookie crumbles. Rahm Emanuel is a formidable figure.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's sleazy as all hell. You have to be mayor of Chicago. It's a prerequisite. It's actually in the documentation.
You don't have to be dodgy to work here, but it helps. Yeah.
No, I think they actually, when they swear you in, they say, "Now, do you promise to be a complete corrupt sleazebag?"
Yeah.
And that's it. But I don't think he's got a cat's chance in hell.
Raheem Kassam, thank you. Usual Thursday slot. See you next Thursday, as they say.